Hello and welcome to another episode of Intune.training, the place to learn how to use Microsoft Intune. The Steve and Adam Show with Adam and, well, the executive assistant, Jake Shackelford. Hey, Jake.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you, sir?
Not bad. It's a Friday night.
Yeah, this is the Friday of Ignite week, so we've had I know lots of folks have had a long week of consuming content. I unfortunately did not get to consume nearly as much as I had hoped. I've got a lot of catching up to do.
I'm in the same boat.
In fact, I'm actually the stuff we're going over tonight is I've never seen before. This will be a first look for me. I know you've done a little bit of studying, but it's brand new. But we're going to give you a preview of it and give our best shot. Just keep in mind that the docs have better have more info, not better. Maybe better. Remains to be seen. We're going to give it a shot, though. So we're going to poke at it and ask questions and do our best to show off the new feature. And Jake, what is the new feature we're going to do?
It is Win32 applications Supersedence within Intune. Highly requested feature.
Ooh, Supersedence. So if you've done Config Manager or any other, probably other application deployment tools, Supersedence is where we get to have an app that's deployed in one version, and then we say, hey, we've got a new version of this, and so we want the new version to replace the old one. So we want it to do the upgrade for us. And in some cases, that doesn't work natively with the app that's the way it's built, and so you generally have to script around it or do things. And so Supersedence is a way to allow us to replace an app with a new app on the device. At least I think. At least that's in the config manager world. That's the way it works. So if you've got the old one installed, you automatically get the new one, and magic happens and stuff. And before we kind of get down that path, just to note, we will put some links in the bottom. If this is your first time doing Win32 apps, we're not going to show really that process. Maybe a little bit of it, but we're going to focus on the Supersedence piece. And if you need to know how to package up a Win32 app, we will include, I think it's episode 7 was our first time doing that. And then I think and that was actually, strangely, Jake, that was, it was in preview in August 2019 when that video came out. That was just in preview. So lots of stuff has changed in between there, but it should get you started
really easy
with packaging apps. Yeah. So, all right. So I'll stop talking and let Jake take over.
If you want to share your screen out, we can actually start looking at the portal and everything, because we did beforehand set up 2 apps. We haven't set up Supersedence yet, though, but we did set up 2 Notepad++ apps of varying versions.
Okay.
So if we go to endpoint.microsoft.com, everyone's favorite website, and we'll navigate over to the Apps tab once it loads here.
All right.
And Windows. And then you'll see down towards the bottom, we have 2 Notepad++ versions, 7.9.1 and 7.9.3, both in the 64-bit architecture. If we open one of these up and actually go to the properties for it, in order for Supersedence to work properly, you want to actually make sure that when you're creating these apps and creating your installation commands and the detection methods, that you actually fill in all of the required information. And as an example, you'll see, the uninstall string, don't pay attention to it. That's this. The silent install is not the proper way to do the uninstall for that app. But I was just filling it in, for the purposes of the demo here. If we scroll down a little bit farther, we can take a look at the actual detection method or the detection rules. Mm-hmm. You'll want to make sure that this actually has like a version number as an example that you can take a look at, and it's not just simply pointing at like the C program files, whatever the executable is, because you'll want to have something to actually compare against when you're doing Supersedence here. So as an example, you'll see with the 7.9.1, it looks specifically for that version number, and then vice versa with 7.9.3.
So, and just to drive that point home a little bit further, so a lot of times you will find very generic detection methods for apps. So you just say, I don't really care what version you have. I want this app to be on your machine. And in this case, you need to know specifically it has this version and we need it to go to this version. So, okay, now we can do the supersedence. So you definitely need this to be granular enough so that it has the ability to detect the specific version that you are doing and not a more broad stroke of just we have the app installed.
Exactly. If you're taking the other approach where you're just doing, basic program files, exe, looking for the exe, you might not even want to do supersedence. I mean, it's not going to really work out for you that well. So if we take a look at the actual deployments, you'll see that this one, 7.9.1, is available to the users. Currently, we don't have any deployments on 7.9.3. So yeah, if Adam wants to open up, looks like it actually already installed.
Do we think?
It looks like it was in your start menu, yeah.
It's possible that this is a previous install of it. We'll see.
It says it's installed there on the home page. If you want to launch it, we can actually take a look at what version number it's at.
I was just trying to compare, see what we've got deployed. Okay, so we only have this one version deployed. We haven't superseded it yet, so that's the one we were just looking at.
Yeah, let's open it up, and there will be a question mark on the top right toolbar, and about F1. You'll see, oh, that's strange.
Ooh, neat.
You maybe want to pause.
Nope, we're not pausing.
Nope. All right, hey, let's uninstall it.
Yeah. So we were prepping some things earlier, and it's possible that I got
Supersedence we were testing went out ahead. Yep.
Yeah, I may have gotten the policies a little in advance here, so we will back that out. No big deal. But this is not unlike what you would experience in your environments. Oh, wait, what's going on here? And you can see, I noticed as we clicked on it, it says install. So it's advertised, but it's not installed because, well, the detection method is telling us that it's
exactly.
not
installed. We got the detection method set up properly. Yep, it's not detecting it. So uninstall.
But then I think what happened was you had deployed it, and then now you've undeployed the supersedence, and so that's why we don't see both. Or we don't see it replaced in our software center. So we still had 791 advertised, even though we did the supersedence and actually did previously advertise 793 to this machine. So that's why they're not both there. This is good.
And when it asks if you want to keep your settings, you can go ahead and hit no.
But what if I want them?
Well, they're gone now.
Oh, dang it. Okay.
So from here, we should be able to go ahead and install 791.
Very cool. Okay, so while that's installing, let's jump back over here then and take a peek at the other one.
793, yeah.
Okay.
They are currently identical, except for the fact that there should be no deployment method on 793 currently. And obviously, the detection method is set for 793 as opposed to 791.
Okay. Yep.
So if we go back to your box, we should see that 791 is installed. Let's just verify that. Yep, awesome. If you want to launch it, make sure it's the right version this time around.
I'm glad we proved it out. That's good.
Right. Awesome, 791. So from here, we can go back into our Intune portal, and then let's actually hit edit on Supersedence, so we can walk through it.
Oh, on Supersedence, sorry.
We'll set the Supersedence up, and then we'll actually do the deployment.
So here's the new Supersedence preview. Now it is preview, but it should
take it with pretty close to this.
Yep. Preview doesn't mean this is the very first time they've ever pushed this out into production. By the time it makes it here, it has gone through a private preview process and has been thoroughly vetted. And now it's just getting a broader audience and stuff. So it doesn't, but it also means that there could potentially be changes to it before its final form in production. So
now the paragraph that they have here, as far as like an explanation, is actually really good. So I'd like to go over it real quick. So basically, when you supersede an application, you can specify which app will be updated or replaced. To update the app, you're going to disable the uninstall previous versions option. And then Or if you want to replace the app, you're going to want to make sure that you have that uninstall string in your actual application deployment set up properly. That way, when you're doing the replacement, it'll uninstall the old version and then install the new version. Like Adam had mentioned, there are some applications out there that don't play nicely just doing a straight install over itself. So in that case, you'd want to do that replacement option. Otherwise, if it's, as an example, Notepad++ usually installs just fine by putting the new version right on top of it. We don't necessarily have to worry about that uninstall string. So from here, in that route, we can go ahead and hit add.
Okay. And so basically the difference is you have the update versus a replace.
Yep.
Okay. So a replace would be, this is actually kind of an interesting consideration here. So like, let's say that you've got, XY PDF reader and you want AB PDF reader, and they're made by two different companies. You could actually do a supersedence and say, hey, let's swap these out. Or let's say you switch from Zoom to Teams. We don't want Zoom on anymore. We want to put Teams. So you could use this to help you do the cleanup of the old things. Specific, especially if you've like previously targeted the applications to specific groups of devices, or you don't know who all's got the app installed, and so this is a great way to just be able to wipe those out as part of a cleanup process and keep it seamless for the user and stuff. So,
and in that scenario, it actually would be a good idea to use that broader detection rule for like the app that you're trying to remove, like Zoom as an example. Just look for the exe.
Right.
But yeah, we hit add here. You're going to select that we want to supersede 7.9.1. We'll hit select. And then you're going to get the option of the uninstall previous version, which basically switches it over to that replace option. But, in this case, we're going to leave it at no. So we can hit review and save.
Okay. And so the uninstall previous should then, so basically what we're assuming here with this is that this app has upgrade functionality built into it.
You got it.
And so I guess we were talking about this a little bit before, but if we're trying to sell this, you kind of say, well, that's weird. Why would if it can auto upgrade, why do I care to supersede it? And I would say that it's great because you're programmatically going to override the older deployment of those apps, so that let's say you had required deployments on the old version or something. This one will override that one, and I think at least that's the way it would work in Config Manager. And so it's going to effectively block the ability for any apps you list here from being reinstalled, and then this one will replace them in that process. So this is an easier way for you to help prevent old ones from auto reinstalling, I would assume.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you take a look at the doc, which we'll include down in the link below,
or even to click to learn more.
Yep, they have a fantastic list of the actual scenarios that you can run through. So like, let's say you've got 3 apps in that list. The first 2 apps, they're never gonna appear on a client machine because you have that third app set to supersede the following, based on the examples that they had shown. Now, there are some things that play, into like how you're going to do your deployments that you might want to take a look at. But as long as you're deploying the same groups that you were with a superseded app, you shouldn't run into any issues.
Excellent. And I definitely, we're not going to go over all of these things, but this is my first time looking at this. Honestly, there is a lot of information in here, and this would definitely be worth reading through, especially these cool pictures. Everybody likes pictures. So look at all these scenarios. This is great. So while you're setting this up, if you have confusion over it, come here and see if you can find a scenario that matches what you're looking for, and find the right path forward so that you can understand how this works. That's some really sweet documentation.
It is.
Honestly, like that's pretty cool. So whoever these guys are,
like that.
Hey guys, thanks for putting together some sweet docs on this. This is nice.
Towards the bottom of that doc, too, you'll notice that there was a mention that there is a limit to the supersedence chain limit, and that is 10. So you'll want to just bear that in mind. Most likely you're going to come in and set up your supersedence, and then after a couple of them, you'll probably delete the older apps because they're not needed anymore. But just know that there is a limit.
Yeah, and they do call that out here as well. The maximum 10 updated or replaced, including references to other apps. So and so they call that out here, right, as the supersedence graph. So if you put all of these, chain them all together. So just keep that in mind as you do it. So this is going to be an awesome feature. I like this. All right, so we're going to review and save, do that.
Now, us just doing that, isn't going to actually cause 7.9.3 to install on anything because we still don't have a deployment associated with it. So in this case, we'll go in, add an assignment, and we can deploy it just as all users as required.
Oh, no, man, we don't do that.
Or, you could specify a group. I'd recommend specifying a group, but for demo purposes.
For demo purposes, we always use the Intune license group because Steve would be proud of us.
If you're listening, Steve, we're making you proud. Or Adam,
he never watches this stuff. Okay, so now this is also a deal here. So I'm doing it as a required deployment because we want this to supersede. Now, actually, that's an interesting question, Jake. Do you know the answer to this one? If I deploy it as available, but it's already installed, I've already got an older version installed, will it automatically upgrade or replace the existing installed app?
It should not technically, based on all the documentation.
Okay.
Because again, you're simply making that app available. It's up to the user to decide if they want to install it.
Okay.
But if you made both 791 and 793 available, they would not be able to install 791. They'd be forced to do 793.
Okay, there we go. All right, so here we go. So the scenario, superseded app exists on the device and uninstalled previous version is set to yes. So we've got our set to no. Okay, the superseding app will be installed on the device. Whether the superseded app will be uninstalled or not is dependent on the superseding app's installer. Both superseding and superseded apps will be shown in the company portal if they are have the applicable targeting. However, currently only superseding apps can be installed. Okay. So,
but again, in that scenario, you've got 791 installed already, and you just make 793 available. You're not forcing them to actually go through with that installation.
Right. And so if we look at it here, superseded app does not exist on the device, then the app would be installed for the required process, but it would only be available. Okay, so this is the way you would expect it to work. And so the thing to remember, I think, here is that the app is there's nothing different about this app versus another app in the function of we're deploying an app as available or as required to some users. The difference is that it also has the ability to remove an existing app if one exists. So I think that's an important.
I think that's the big key
distinction,
piece with
right?
Supersedence for people. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just deploy this the way that you intend to have this app deployed. So if you want it to be required, deploy it this way. If you want it to be available, deploy it the other way. But if you're trying to do a cleanup, then I would say that you probably need to do a target. You need to find a group of devices that have the app on it and target them that way or something, or find, otherwise you're gonna force an install of the app. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. That. Oh, and just while we're there, back up. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. This is new-ish, I think.
It's been in there for a while. I just think people haven't noticed.
I don't know that we've ever covered this and stuff, but this is kind of cool. So you can do stuff with delivery optimization. You can change your toast notifications, this kind of stuff. So that's kind of cool.
You also can change when it's available to download. You can set it to where it's not available, right? Like the availability options. You can make it to where it's not available right away. I mean, there's a ton of stuff in there.
Sorry, I should have.
Nope, all good. So you got your availability, you got your restart grace period, all of that stuff is in there.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay. Specific date and time, that kind of deal. Yeah. So all that stuff's I think that's really cool. All right, so we've got it, and then we're gonna go.
You're going to want to actually save that config, which I don't think we've done yet.
You're right. I did not. We would have just been syncing all night. Okay. So
now we start that syncing all night process.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to do that cool trick where we do the. Oh, you sent me some code. What did you send me, Jake? Do I need this code right now for this?
You could use that if you wanted to. Otherwise, we can just try, restarting the Intune management extension.
So that's what this code does, but it also removes some stuff out of
that. So that code that I sent will remove all of the policy registry entries, and it'll basically the machine will freak out and say, "I need policy right now," and force the download of everything.
Okay, so maybe we don't need to do all.
Yeah, you don't have to go that crazy with it.
But we can at least do the restart service from PowerShell because we have the code. We got the power. All right. So we're just going to do the restart service option.
Special thanks to Andrew Jimmins for this specific set of code.
Yeah. And we're not going to include this in the anywhere for you to get. So just pause your screen and hand type it. This is, and really, I mean, the point there is this is for troubleshooting and debugging.
You should never run this in production.
Yeah, this is just for quick demoing and testing here. That's not what I intended to open. Trying to get this guy. So restarting that service is equivalent to rebooting the box, which triggers the sync a little bit faster sometimes, we found. Because I think there's some sync throttling there that's happening. And that's very interesting.
That is interesting.
Oh, you know what, Jay? I had it as I didn't actually save the required deployment, did I?
You did. Still saw 791.
That's interesting. So both installed. It's what's it reading for that?
I honestly couldn't tell you. There might be something weird with the registry since we had it installed previously.
Yeah.
But we should get a little toast notification down the bottom that says that it's replacing 793. Yeah, there we go. Is being downloaded to update the older version.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Yeah, we may have just had some localized inventory or something there that was flagging that as already installed. So just call that dirty lab problems or something. So hopefully that'll run through successfully. And then that's kind of it, right?
That's it.
Are you aware of any additional reporting of any kind that goes with this?
I have not seen anything in regards to that. I would assume maybe at some point we would get some, maybe when it's out of preview. But currently I haven't seen anything.
Okay. And then at the bottom here, I mean, in this whole section, this is where you go for all of this. Like if you want to do Win32 management, just click on that more info link, and then if you want to learn how to zip up the app and use the Intune Wim creation tool and all that stuff, but then also troubleshooting. So we could come here and this is how you troubleshoot. This is what you go look at. So this is a ton of great resource, ton of great info. As we say continually on this channel, the docs are a great resource. They have so much information, and most of the stuff that we even demo here, you could just go read the docs if you're more comfortable. If you don't want to sit here and listen to us babble, just go read the docs. But if you want to see somebody do it and talk through it and all that stuff, great, we're here for you. So I would assume at some point. Oh no, there you go. So
so 791
is no longer.
Let's click on it and see what happens. Curious to see if it blocks it.
It said it would. Find out live.
Download pending.
Ooh.
It's probably going to download the policy and read it after the fact, but we'll see.
It feels like it should already have that, right?
You'd think.
Well, so, oh, look at that.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Still get the install option. I'm surprised you didn't get a little notification.
It would be.
But you'll notice, that it's still going to appear in the portal because it's set as available. So this is something where you're probably going to want to come in and actually remove the available deployment to that user group. Unless you don't mind, showing them multiple ones, but some of them they won't be able to install. So.
Yes, and that's a good point. So the detection method is designed to determine what is actually installed on the machine. It has nothing to do with what is deployed to the machine through Software Center or Company Portal. So if you unadvertise an app and then you want to supersede it, that's my own laptop telling me it needs to update. So if you undeploy this from this device, it's not going to impact whether the supersedence works or not. There's no reliance on this being advertised to the machine for the supersedence to function. The supersedence is looking at that registry key to say, hey, this app is installed. I'm supposed to supersede it, and it will take care of it and replace it. So that's the thing to know. Now, the flip side of that, though, is it does need to know the detection method of that former app. So you do, I guess that's an interesting consideration, right? So if you've never deployed the apps that you're trying to supersede, you would need to still create them in
Yes,
Intune.
you would need to create them, and that's when you might want to use like that super generic option where like you're just looking for the executable, especially if you're going with that replace option.
So if we've
I'm
never
grab all the versions.
If we've never bundled this up and deployed it, we would still need to create an app and
populate that
specifically
uninstall
populate the detection method rules and possibly the uninstalled methods for those. Correct. So that it could use it. So I may take back what I just said then. I mean, you would. We will have to test this further, Jake, because now I'm really, really curious. I would hope that you don't have to have this deployed in order to supersede it, because I would assume that the supersedence info comes down with the main app.
I don't think you have to have it deployed. I wouldn't think you have to, because while it's not a dependency, it still is going to look at that app for its specific information, and it should pull down that uninstall string. But that is something we will have to test.
Or you at home can test and let us know what you thought. But specifically, kind of what I'm thinking here is that you need to put all this stuff together so that the superseding app knows about this app in a way that lets it take care of the uninstall and all that sort of stuff. Otherwise, you have nothing to select in the supersedence dropdown for it to use as the detection to supersede. Hopefully that's making sense. You'll figure it out when you get there. You'll realize, oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So anyway, I think we've taken a good
always test. Don't just push it to prod right away.
Oh yeah, Mr. Don't just deploy to all users. It's fine.
It worked on my machine, right?
Yeah, exactly. And as I said, this is our first look at it. So we kind of like that. Just first look, it's the off the cuff. Just hey, this is cool stuff. Well, what else, Jake? Anything else?
I think we covered just about everything that I can think of.
All right, cool. Well, go take a look at this. It should be lit up in everyone's tenants already. There was some info at Ignite about it too, so I'm sure there's a Ignite video or two laying around. If there is, we can certainly point to that. I know that the announcements came out during Ignite. I don't know specifically if there's a video on it, but we can certainly add that to the description. So take a look.
Read the docs.
Yeah, read the docs.
Yeah,
they're awesome. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Jake. Stop the sharing. There we go. Bye, Jake.
Adios.